If I told you that this kid was going to be one of the most controversial Formula 1 drivers ever, you'd probably be pretty confused. So how did we get here? Lance Stroll has been a consistent name on the Formula 1 grid for years now. However, his critics still say he doesn't actually deserve his spot. His entire Formula 1 career has been stamped with the pay driver tag, which, despite his accolades and achievements, is discussed after every bad performance. Let's explore how the Canadian made his way into the pinnacle of motorsport, the many controversies he left behind, and answer the question, did he deserve to get into Formula 1 in the first place? Lance Stroll's path through the junior categories attracted a lot of positive and negative attention. Even the first step in Lance Stroll's rise into Formula 1 was covered in controversy. Back in 2010, many were left scratching their heads when Ferrari announced that the son of Ferrari collector Lance Stroll had been signed as the youngest ever member of their young driver program at the age of 11, especially considering the Canadian only began his motorsport career in karting at the age of 10. For point of reference, Max Verstappen started at the age of 4, Lewis Hamilton started at 8, and although Kimi Raikkonen started at 10 and went on to be a Formula 1 world champion, starting at 10 for modern day drivers is quite late, and then being signed by Ferrari, the most prestigious name in the sport, just 1 year later, certainly got some attention. And this isn't to say that he was a bad driver. He recorded numerous race and championship wins in Canada and North America in his first year in karting. He proved that he was quick despite his lack of experience and was being recognized nationally. He won the Automobile de Quebec Rookie of the Year and was awarded Driver of the Year whilst he was starting out his karting career. But already it's difficult to judge if Ferrari saw the talent that was shown in Canada and brought him into their driver program because of that. We have to remember that this is the academy that's also played a part in Charles Leclerc and Sergio Perez's career, as well as having the likes of Ollie Bearman in Formula 2 right now, so they do have an ability to spot talent. Or did Ferrari see the son of one of their most wealthy collectors and jump at the opportunity to build a Lance Stroll-shaped bridge between them and the pocket of his billionaire father, Lance Stroll? Whichever one you think it may be, once he became a Ferrari junior driver, Stroll was then thrown into the European karting scene, where he started bumping wheels with some other drivers you'll probably start to recognise. It didn't start amazingly. He took part in KF3, where he finished 21st in the standings, whilst George Russell took the title. However, a trip back to America and the SKUSA Supernational Junior class would see Stroll get back to his winning ways, which came at the perfect time before 2013 saw Lance Stroll moved up into the KF class and finished 6th in the World Championship, just a few places behind another future Formula 1 racing driver, Max Verstappen, who came 3rd. Both Verstappen and Stroll would actually move up into the Formula categories at the same time, and actually since that point, their acceleration through the categories and up into Formula 1 saw both skip various steps along the way. However, here's where we hit another point that caused controversy within the motorsport community. As much as many believed that Lance had earned his stripes and deserved his step up into Formula 4, when the time came to move into single-seater cars, his dad Lawrence Stroll invested heavily into Prima and appointed the best team behind the scenes as possible to ensure that his son had the best chance of winning, which was seen by many others as Lance effectively paying to win by having the best of everything imaginable handed to him. So of course, he won, and despite missing the final round of the season due to injury, Stroll picked up the championship with 7 wins amongst 13 podium finishes and 5 pole positions. And obviously, whilst Lance Stroll delivered in the car and obviously had to put in the performances to achieve those titles, the behind-the-scenes spending which had gone into his career also wasn't forgotten about by his competitors. Let's take, for instance, the Formula 4 season before Lance Stroll's title win, when Max Verstappen, Esteban Ocon and Antonio Giovinazzi were battling for the title. We saw a field of around 25 cars. The number of cars then dropped to less than half the season that Lance Stroll collected his title, because many basically couldn't be bothered with competing with the cash of Lawrence Stroll in a championship they didn't have a chance of competing in. But nonetheless, that Italian Formula 4 championship allowed him to move up into Formula 3. He did take a little trip to New Zealand in the gap between F4 and F3 at the beginning of 2015, taking part in a Toyota racing series, which which would see him return to Europe with another championship in hand. He managed 4 wins from 10 podiums in 16 race starts, which again shows he's quick. He does have some talent, it's just difficult to judge how much talent when he's being handed the best car and the best team by a considerable margin every time he's out on track, which was maybe highlighted when he moved into Formula 3. He now had the chance to race with the likes of Charles Leclerc, George Russell and Alex Albon, and he really struggled with the step up in quality, and by his own admission started trying too hard and pushing the car way beyond its limits. For example, at Monza he tangled with Antonio Giovinazzi and was asked by the FIA to start the race from the pit lane, eventually being disqualified from the round altogether, which was then followed up by another incident in Spa where Lance Stroll triggered a 3-car crash involving his teammate, and this time the stewards just banned him from taking part in the final race. Lance Stroll then received an incredible amount of criticism for those incidents, and also then received a lot of praise for the way that he bounced back after them. And the season wasn't a total disaster. He finished in 5th place behind the likes of Giovinazzi and Charles Leclerc, but also ahead of the likes of George Russell and Alex Albon, and he did win a race at the Hockenheimring, so it was a tough season for the Canadian as he found his feet in Formula 3, but there was definitely still talent there. So in November 2015, it was announced that Lance Stroll, whilst competing in Formula 3 for another season to see if he could improve his performances this second time around in 2016, would also be leaving the Ferrari Driver Academy and join the Williams Driver Academy, where he would actually serve as a simulator driver for the Williams team. It was an opportunity to really embed himself into the Williams setup, and in hindsight gave him a lot clearer path into Formula 1, as it was very unlikely he was going to get himself a Ferrari drive. But even to be worthy of a Williams drive, he really needed to step up in his second season of Formula 3 racing. And step up his performances he did. He won the first race at Paul Ricard before then going on to achieve a total of 14 victories and winning the championship by 187 points. Looking at the statistics without delving any deeper, it's one of the most dominant displays in Formula 3 history, even finishing almost 250 points ahead of George Russell, who's popped up a lot in this video, but George and Lance battled quite often as they made their way into Formula 1. However, I think it's fair to say that George wasn't a fan of Lance and wasn't shy about pointing out some of the underlying issues with Lance Stroll's dominance during that 2016 Formula 3 championship run. Throughout the season, George, and many others to be fair, accused Stroll and the team of manufacturing his title through team orders. George Russell even said it's not a fair fight when Lance is involved, and that was basically because of the huge sums of money that Lance Stroll's billionaire father invested into his son's campaign with Prema, which led to George believing that his success was an inevitability, and that Lance himself hadn't really earned the championship as much as his father had just paid for him to win it. So once again, his championship win in Formula 3 is shrouded in problems, and like what happened in Formula 4, the 35-car field which assembled for the first race of the Formula 3 season in 2015 fell to just 21 in 2016, as many teams and drivers once again didn't want to compete with the money that Stroll was shoveling into Prema, as well as the raised questions over the depth of Stroll's cooperation with Williams. He was actually stripped of 2 pole positions that season after a new suspension component was fitted to just his car within the team, and it was found to be of an aspect ratio greater than the maximum limit, which many claim was actually produced by Williams specifically for Lance Stroll. Although again, on the other side of the coin, once that suspension was removed, he still went on to win races. So he did win, but however controversial that inevitable championship win was, it did see Williams promote Lance Stroll not into Formula 2, which is the normal step up, but straight into Formula 1 for the 2017 season, partnering Felipe Massa. From there, of course, he's raced for Williams, Racing Point, and now Aston Martin over the course of 7 seasons in Formula 1, but it begs the question, even though he's one of the most experienced drivers on the grid right now, should he have been there in the first place? And honestly, I find it quite difficult to judge. You can argue it from both sides. Lance Stroll has said himself, you need to put in a certain amount, like in any sport. If you want to play tennis, you need to buy a racket. The money and the talent that Lance Stroll had throughout his junior career are so heavily intertwined that it's difficult to know where one ends and the other one begins. The Canadian, the championships, the controversies, it's all there. It's all up to you to decide whether you think Lance Stroll deserved to be in Formula 1 in the first place. And I'd love to know your thoughts. curious, has Lance Stroll proven that he deserved this accelerated route into Formula 1 since then? Is he actually good enough to remain on the Formula 1 grid in the future with Aston Martin? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. And if you enjoyed this video, I also made this one here on Kimi Antonelli, who is also making a big jump in the junior series for the 2024 season. So click that link and I'll see you over there.